All right, The Father. Oh wow, what a movie. Okay. It was.
I'm still emotionally traumatized from it. I didn't sleep well last night after watching this movie.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Listen,
No, it's not your fault. It's Anthony Hopkins' fault.
we're gonna have to tone the movies down next week. You'll have to pick something lighter.
I mean, gosh, Nomadland felt like a family-friendly Disney film compared to The Father. I don't know what it was. This movie really just broke everything inside of me. I just lost it. Like, I think my neighbors could hear me crying.
I'm
anyway,
sorry. Well, maybe we can process that today and get through it together, huh?
This is like a therapy session today. This should be fun.
This is gonna be great. I got my I have my security chicken over here, as you can see.
I know, he's so cute.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's our intro, huh?
They yell about directors, yell about the plot, yell about the acting, but they also talk a lot. But mostly Josh and Cassie, yeah, about the movies.
Okay, everybody, we're trying to get up the emotional resonance to get excited about today's film, The Father. I'm Josh.
Yes, you are, and I'm Cassie.
That's right, and together we're Josh.
You usually together we're Josh and Cassie. Well, you usually have like I'm a freelance entertainment journalist. I was waiting for you to finish it.
I know. I like to change it up on you. I'm sorry.
Okay, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared.
It's acting. You always got to be prepared.
You threw me a curveball. I know. You're right. I failed that test.
Listen, have you seen my watch?
Oh, don't start with me. Don't make me cry.
That's going to be the theme of the film. Have you seen my watch, everybody?
We jumped into that like really fast and like head first, and I just wasn't prepared.
I'm sorry. Well, that comes up like so many times in the film. He says it over and over again.
It does. It does.
I guess he's if you don't know what time it is,
breaking my heart every time.
If you don't know what time it is, I mean, what do you got? Yep.
What do we got?
Anyway, so guys, we're a weekly movie review podcast. We try to talk about
we really got it together today too. If you can't tell,
like I said, we try to talk about current films to be part of the conversation, and this is the second consecutive film we looked at that features an actor nominated for Best Actor at the Academy Awards, Anthony Hopkins.
That's right. And at this point, it looks like it's probably going to be between him and Chadwick Boseman. And I have not watched the Chadwick Boseman film yet. So have you? I haven't. It sounds good, but maybe we should do that one next week.
Is it The Four Bloods?
No, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
I did see that. That's great. If you want to watch it next week, let's go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I need to watch it. But because after watching The Father, I was like, what could possibly beat this?
Okay, that one has some has some emotionally traumatic scenes also. Just warning you.
Okay. Go great. Okay.
Not like this. It's mostly. No,
this is what happens when you watch Oscar film after Oscar film.
I mean,
they're all so
everything goes great until it doesn't. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah.
That's a spoiler, you guys, for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Okay.
All right. Well, coming on strong today. Cassie, how you feeling about this movie?
Yeah.
You ready to talk about it?
Yes, I'm ready to cry about it. It was like 11:45 at night when I finished this movie. And I was trying to think, there are like two movies that have made me cry this hard. And the first one is AI, Artificial Intelligence. And the second one was Train to Busan, which I don't think you have watched.
I don't think I have.
No. Yeah. So this was in my top 3 films that have made me audibly sob to the point where there was snot coming out of my nose. It was not a pretty scene.
Well, sometimes you need to get that out.
It was very cathartic. You're right. It was a really good cry because it was a really good movie.
The film that does it for me is Life is Beautiful, starring Roberto Benigni, if you haven't seen that.
I haven't. I remember it. I remember when it was popular, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, well, just a good old-fashioned family fun film about a comedian.
It's a Holocaust movie, right? Isn't it?
About a comedian who goes to the Holocaust with his son, but he tries to pretend they're not in the Holocaust, just to protect his son's emotions, Oh
no!
What? He does it. He.
No, I believe I'm just can't even start processing this right now.
All right.
I'm still sad about dementia from this film.
All right. Spoiler, guys. This film is about dementia. Okay. So, all right. Let's get into it. We're lollygagging a little bit here, you guys.
Yeah, we are.
Maybe we're terrified to talk about it. It's an emotionally dramatic film. Anthony Hopkins, at the very beginning of the film, is losing his mind. He's losing his agency. That's like a key word we talked about last week. His agency. He's worried about losing his agency. Throughout the film, we see it's an interesting film because we see it from his perspective the whole time, which means he's talking to someone and then he turns around and then they're not there and it's like 2 years later.
Yep.
Or sometimes he sees someone as someone else, right? Like,
yeah. And really, in the end, we don't know what was real. We don't know what happened, when it happened, when he was in his daughter's house, when he was in his own house, if he was in this, care facility this entire time. Just, I mean, it's confusing and scary and just so unbelievably devastating. I mean,
Anne, are you there? Anne?
Oh God, Lucy. No, Lucy was the one that broke my heart.
Let's hold off on talking about Lucy. It took me a while to figure that out.
Gotcha.
Did you figure that out?
Yeah. Oh yeah, right away. As soon as he asked for her, I could tell based on Anne's reaction that she wasn't.
Right. But did you realize that Lucy appears later in the film?
You mean in the hospital bed?
No, remember the nurse? The nurse originally was a blonde girl, and then later it was another lady.
Yeah.
I think he was seeing his daughter Lucy in the face of his nurse, I think.
He said Imogen Poots, the blonde nurse, looked like Lucy.
Yeah. That's a cute name, by the way.
See, now I'm confused. Imogen?
Yeah.
She's adorable. I love her. Yeah. I've really liked her for a long time. She's super cute.
So one of the common refrains in the film, like I said, he's losing his agency, is "Where's my watch?" He's always like hiding it for some reason. We don't know why. And then he accuses people of taking it. And then he gets real angry. He says, "Where's my watch?" He's like, Anne, have you seen my watch? And he's always accusing everybody of taking everything because he's worried he is losing his mind, but it terrifies him and he can't confront it until the end of the film. What did you think at the beginning?
As with a lot of these movies, I don't know exactly what I'm getting into, which is how I like it. So since you're seeing it from his point of view, I thought he was sitting in his own home and his daughter had come to visit, and she was just someone who came to visit to check up on him and was discussing getting him a nurse and telling him that she was moving to Paris. I took everything at face value,
Yep. Except she didn't move to Paris, or did she?
But yeah, exactly. I think she did. I don't know. We still don't know because we're Anthony Hopkins in this movie and he doesn't know either, Yeah. And then, gosh, it has the feel of a psychological thriller.
A little bit.
A little bit. But so, to think that this is real life and that this is something that people go through every day.
I just wanted to say, if hopefully you don't ever marry somebody like that who's so rude to your dad. That's all I can say.
Oh, it was horrible. I was trying to figure out if some of it didn't actually happen. Like the scene where he was hitting him. I mean, do you think that actually happened? I couldn't tell.
I think it did.
God, it just broke my heart. It broke my heart. I just wanted to give Anthony Hopkins a big hug.
Because you see the refrain from like the two different husbands. One was named Paul and the other guy, I don't know the other guy's name, but they were,
God, I can't remember.
They interchange in his mind. And at one point he's seeing Paul, but then Anne comes back and you see it's her other husband or whatever, her boyfriend. We don't really know how deep their relationship got, but he's very rude to him. And he says to him, "How much longer," this is very British, "how much longer do you intend to hang around getting on everybody's tits?" Like very British.
And he also says, doesn't he say at one point, sometimes I wonder if he does it on purpose?
Yeah.
Like he thinks he's faking it,
that's absurd.
Kind of outrageous. Yeah. And you just feel so much for him that when you see Anne getting a little frustrated with him or short with him, or even the nurse is kind of like laughing at him going, "What are you talking about?" Like, what, you just want to scream like, well, he doesn't know. He's so confused,
and he hates being talked down to. Like he says more than once, what are you talking to me that way? What do you think I'm retarded? Again, that's an exact quote. I'm not just saying the word.
Right. Yeah. We're not saying that. Yeah. Anthony Hopkins says that. So it reminded me a lot of, so there's a show on Hulu called Castle Rock. Not sure if you've heard of
Yeah.
it. Bill Skarsgård is in it. We all know how I feel about Bill. That's why I watched it, but I recommend it with or without
I
him.
thought you
because
liked
it's very
both
good.
of the Skarsgård's brothers, by the way.
Both? There's like 17
Oh,
of them.
really?
there are so many of them.
Okay.
But yeah, only one of them is on Twitter,
Oh,
as far as I know.
okay.
I've done a lot of research on the Skarsgård social media presence. Anyway, so there is an episode where Sissy Spacek's character suffers from dementia, and it's a really beautiful episode. It's a lot like this film. It's from her perspective, and she's seeing things happen more than once. You know, situations repeat themselves like they kind of do in this movie. She forgets who people are. She confuses people a lot, and seeing it from her perspective, that was the first thing I had ever seen that did anything like that. And it really blew me away when I watched it.
Yeah.
I think a year ago or so was when I saw it. So really, when I watched this movie, it reminded me so much of that. And I was wondering if there was have you ever seen anything like this done before? Like anything like this from the perspective of maybe Memento?
Maybe. I mean, there's a film called Awakenings I really liked a long time ago with Robert De Niro and Robin Williams about some condition where Robert De Niro is like hibernation for like 15 years, and then he wakes up and he's trying to remember everything. And Robin Williams is his doctor. Super emotional film. Anyway, yeah. So in addition to his watch, he's always talking about his flat. He says, "Ann, this is my flat. What's this man doing in my flat?"
Yeah.
And then he says frequently, he says, "You're going to leave me. You're going to leave me." He says, "The rats, that's it. The rats are leaving the ship." And then he breaks down and says, "What's going to become of me?" He says that a few times.
He does. And I love just his facial expressions throughout the film. Every time someone's face changes and he's not quite sure who he's talking to, I would just look at his face and the look of confusion, but he doesn't want to say. You know, you can tell he's you know, they say, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine," but he's not fine. He has no idea what's happening, and he's just trying to hide it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And then there's this one part where Laura comes in, but not Laura, his daughter Anne, but it's like a different Anne who I think he's seeing his other daughter Lucy in her. If you notice early on, there's kind of a switch, and he says Anne because she looks different. I think it's Lucy, and he says, "What is this nonsense?" That's early on.
I thought the nurse looked like Lucy.
She does
though.
also. Like that same actress is that same actress who I believe is the face of his daughter Lucy, who we see in kind of a dream sequence near the end when he's in a hospital.
Which was the only part of the film that I felt kind of out of place personally. But
yeah, was that a dream sequence or was that really the place he was in all along? You know what I mean? Right? We don't know.
It felt a little out of place, like a little horror movie.
Oh, very much. Yeah. It was. It had that feel of like there's this woman in a hospital bed. He goes up, he walks into a room, and he hears her say, "Dad, Dad, Dad, Dad." But I think that was Lucy he's seeing in that hospital bed. And
yes. Oh, yeah.
And that was probably a flashback to the fact that she had an accident, and he doesn't remember any of that. And maybe the accident is what triggered all this repressed trauma for him.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, dementia doesn't tend to have a specific trigger, does it?
I don't know, but he seems to remember everything else pretty well except the accident. He doesn't remember anything about it at all. He just keeps saying, "She never comes to visit anymore. I miss her so much." And then Anne, cries and she says, "I miss him too, Dad."
Yeah.
It's anyway, there's some levity that happens when Laura, the new nurse, shows up.
Was that her name? I guess
Laura, the blonde girl. You said Imogene Poots. You said, yeah.
Yes.
She shows up. Yeah, he thinks she's really, really attractive, and then he offers her whiskey, and he starts dancing, and he says, "I was a dancer."
Yes.
And Anne says, "No, you weren't. You were an engineer."
And that's how it. I know with diseases such as dementia and Alzheimer's, they do have moments of like lucidity. Yeah. I've heard, know, so I'm sure there were times when he seemed completely fine, and then other times when he seemed totally out of it. And here I was thinking and hoping that this nurse would like turn everything around and be a bright spot in his life. But who knows how long she was even there or when she was there.
Yeah, and then the moment turns on a dime when he says, "Laura reminds me of Lucy," and just like Lucy, she has an unbearable habit of laughing incessantly. And it makes Anne cry.
That was odd. That was.
And then
odd.
he goes to his room. Anne starts crying, and she says, "I'm sorry. I told you he was like this."
Yeah, and she said that's a quite normal reaction. Isn't that what she says?
That's
a normal response. What happens next?
Well,
Listen, I'm not kidding when I'm telling you I'm traumatized.
No, I
You
know.
need
It's
to walk
okay.
me through.
It's quite all right. He's really mean talking about his daughter on a number of occasions. He tells Paul or whatever the other husband is, she's not very bright. She gets that from her mother. Like, I mean, maybe he was on drugs when he said that. I mean, I apparently was really rude to people when I was on drugs for 3 days in the hospital. So maybe that's what happens.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, maybe dementia is kind of the same thing. Also, Anne doesn't drink at all. I wonder if that's just her coping mechanism to try to stay sane for him. So she's always there for him. What do you think?
I hadn't thought about that, honestly, but it's a good. I mean, you can tell she is investing a lot of her life into helping her father at this point, which is making her both her husbands incredibly frustrated, and they were definitely the least likable characters in this whole thing. I mean,
oh, you know what? I've got another theory. You ready?
Yeah, all right. Let's hear it.
My theory is it was Lucy that went to Paris. Lucy, that's my theory.
Oh,
okay. And because he makes fun of Paris, he says Paris. They don't even speak English there. He says it several times. So I think that's why there's like two different husbands, because he's seeing her Anne, and then later he's seeing Lucy. Okay. That's what I think. One of them was Anne's husband, and one of them was Lucy's husband, I think.
That's very possible. Yeah. Well, in the end, one of them was also one of his doctors, remember?
Yeah. Her name was Catherine. And again, I think he sees Lucy in her. And
oh, no, I meant the man. The man. The husband's face. Yeah, remember?
Oh, right, yeah.
He comes in.
The husband named Paul, he appears in the face of this doctor at the very end. And Paul, throughout the film, was always like giving these weird glances. Like when he sees him for the first time, he's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're in my flat." He's like, "Okay." And then he's like, "I think I'm going to call your daughter."
And it's another one of those films, kind of like when we talked about with Saint Maud, where sometimes real life things that can happen in real life can be even more terrifying than anything supernatural. You know, it's kind of like that. Yeah. Something like mental illness in the case of Saint Maud, or, you know, aging and mental deterioration. I know when I was watching it, I was thinking, I have like a really big fear of aging.
Oh.
And I also hate watching my parents get older. So I think that might even be why I was so affected by this movie in particular.
I got it. I remember 30 years ago, I used to, my dad used to ask me to pull gray hairs off his neck. Like,
off his neck?
Yeah, he had a really hairy back.
Ew. I'm always here for a weird Josh Dad story.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah. That was handshakes all the time too, and he really hates that and tries to hide it, just like Anthony Hopkins.
Right. Yeah. It's awful. It's sad. I mean, in a way, there's nothing more terrifying than getting old. It's the scariest thing in the world.
Or is it just a new chapter in life? It's the great beyond.
Oh, yeah, fair. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'm still grappling with that.
Shakespeare called it the undiscovered country.
Did he?
He did. And I only know that because of Star Trek 6, by the way.
I was going to say, wow, you read a lot of Shakespeare? No. Star Trek.
Star Trek quoted liberally from Shakespeare and other sources. Oh, shoot, we're burning through this one quick. My gosh, what other notes do we have?
We are, because my mind has been on the final scene since I watched it last night.
What else is there? Yeah, also, it's not, in addition to seeing people out of order, there's like a time jump in his mind. Like at one point, he sees Paul, and he says, "Oh, I'm married to her." And he says, "How long?" And he says, "Coming up on 10 years. And then the very next scene, Anne walks in, and she's been divorced, I think she said, for 5 years. So there's a lot of time jumping. And then in the middle of the film, he meets Laura, and then near the end of the film later, Anne says to him, "Laura, the woman who's helping you, we met just the other day." So was it really the other day, or did she say that to him every single day? It's, because he can't remember more than one day. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's
all right. Well, it's going to be okay, Cassie.
Sorry. Is it though?
Absolutely.
I just want to know that Anthony Hopkins is okay. He won the BAFTA for this too. I think he's okay.
You like the BAFTAs?
I mean, I just always see on Twitter. Well, I like everything British, so yes.
Do you subscribe to Acorn?
No, I don't know what that is.
Acorn is a British streaming service like Netflix in England, but it's available here. So you can watch all the British shows.
Oh my gosh, how did I not know about this?
Now you do. Now you can get on it. Okay, so we covered almost everything already because everything kind of repeats in this film. If everything they did that didn't repeat, if they only did everything once in this movie, I think the movie would be 45 minutes long. You know what I mean?
And it's hard to break things down and give like theories and stuff because it's kind of impossible to follow and we don't know what's happening, you know? So yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one to talk about. And I knew it would be when I was watching it, but I also felt like it was important to talk about because it was just such a good film.
It was, although I don't know if I could recommend it to everybody just because it's such a disorienting watch. That's all.
Yeah. I was glad it was not super long. It was only about 90 minutes, which that gets rarer and rarer these days. Movies are just way too long.
Yeah.
And I was glad this one was not because it did not need to be.
So, that's right. The movie doesn't waste your time. All right. Listen, sounds like Cassie is thoroughly traumatized today. Let's skip to the final scene. Cassie, thoughts on the final scene?
Oh my God.
Do you want me to break it down for you and you react?
Yes, please.
Okay. Kathleen is the nurse we see at the very end of the film. He's at this point, according to his own mind, he is in an old folks residence home, kind of like I'm not sure if it's a hospice care.
It's like a long-term care facility.
Right. There's different levels. Anyway, so it's just right outside his door, it's like a hallway, and he sees his nurse talking to another elderly patient. So anyway, we can't tell if it's long-term care or hospice care, meaning hospice is like elderly care, but they're close to death. Anyway, we don't know. It's okay.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't get the feeling that it was hospice.
Okay, so she gives him his pills. He feels like he's being made fun of again, but then he gets even more emotional than we've seen him before. He walks away. He says, "I don't know what's happening. I feel like I'm losing my mind." He starts to break down, and then he calls out for Anne, and then he says, "I want my mommy."
And that's when I lost it. Yeah. That's when I don't know how you can laugh at this because I was sobbing, Josh. Oh my God, I can't even laugh like in a dark way about it because I just
right. Well, it gets back to being old is like being young again. He finally regressed to the point that he just wanted someone to take care of him, and the whole film he was fighting being taken care of, and all of a sudden it's like he lets go. He wants to be taken care of. So
when he has those moments of lucidity and he realizes kind of what's happening to him is when he says, I need help, or I want my mom. But yeah, when he said, is my mom coming to visit me?
Have you seen my mom? Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, do you know her? Do you know my mother? And she says, no.
Yeah.
And then when he broke down,
and she hugged him, and that's
when I was like, throw all the Oscars at Anthony Hopkins.
And
just shove them at his face because he needs them all for this.
And that's the end of the film. And then quiet jazz music plays, not unlike the jazz music he was listening to throughout the film. At various points in the film, he goes back to his room, puts on his headphones, and plays a jazz CD just to relax and look out the window.
Yeah. And at one point, it stops working.
Yeah.
Remember? So
and then he takes it out, puts it in another one, but it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work. Things aren't working. Things aren't working for Anthony anymore. And then he says, "Oh my gosh!" After he says, "I want my mommy," I forgot that the actual final words are, "Who are you?" "I'm Catherine." No, he says, "Who are you?" She says, "I'm Catherine." And then he says, "Then who am I?" She says, "You're Anthony." Yeah. And then he says, "Anthony." That's a nice name, isn't it? And then they hug, and that's the final coda. That's it. Fin, as they say in the cinema.
Fin. Yeah. Finny. Oh my gosh. This was the point where I think I had used up an entire box of Kleenex. Like snot running out of my nose. Like my neighbors may have heard me sobbing.
I get it.
I read that apparently, where did I read this? I think I saw it on Twitter. The character of Anthony didn't actually have a name at first, but the director wanted Anthony Hopkins to be in it so bad that he named the character Anthony to try and convince him to be in the film. Sometimes after I'm traumatized by a film, I need to find cute little fun facts like that to make me feel better about life.
Yeah.
And that's one that I found. And I thought that was very sweet and funny.
Yeah.
And I also saw a little video of Anthony Hopkins doing a little jig when he won the BAFTA. And I said, okay, I think I can go to sleep now. Maybe.
He's a sweet old man. I wish he was my grandfather.
Oh, he's so cute. I know.
Okay, so how many boxes of Kleenex do you rate this one?
How many boxes of Kleenex? I mean, his performance is absolutely a 10 out of 10. The only thing, again, I felt like that weird horror movie sequence was a little out of place.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the one thing where I was kind of scratching my head going, why did we need this?
Yeah.
Because it was scary enough in itself, just being the confusion. We didn't need that, I didn't think. So I'll take away 0.5 for that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead with 9.5.
Oh.
Boxes of Kleenex.
All right.
9.5 boxes of Kleenex.
Okay. Well, the film is based on a play, and a lot of films based on a play just take place in like one or two rooms. And it was funny, like as you noticed, audience, every single scene took place in like either his room or their house, and you see the house, but then like it was a different house. Oh, by the way, and this is a British film, so they kept calling it a flat. So anyway,
flat.
So every single flat looks similar, like, and you see like the scene sort of shift a little bit, and it'd be like a slightly different hallway, but it'd be the same perspective. Even in the residence home, and you open the door, the hallway looked like the hallway in his old apartment. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I often was confused about where like they even were, to be honest. I mean,
I know,
just like he was.
Anyway, so for me, the fact that it's based on a play sort of hampered it slightly, because I wish they talked about so much about going out for walks in the park, but they never showed it, and I wish they did. And so it would have had more. I mean,
well, because he couldn't remember them, I guess.
Maybe I wish they did. You know, I wished. Yeah, I wished Anne could have. You know, like Anne held back the whole film. That was it. That's why I don't like it as much as I could. Anne held back. She always protected him. She never told him the way she was feeling, unlike her husband did, who like talked about how he felt right in front of his face. Yeah, she had a shield up the whole film. So I would have liked to seen her walk in the park and actually talk to him like, you know, like he's really there. I liked it a lot. I just wish it broadened its scope and had like one or two outdoor scenes. Come on, guys. I mean, they showed the outdoors. It didn't let you get there, but I would give it 8 stolen watches out of 10 because of that.
That's it. Oh man, you're a tough critic on this one, man.
Well,
I felt like, I guess it did feel a little claustrophobic, but then so did his brain, you know? So I guess that's kind of how I read it, but I see what you're saying.
Yep.
I respect it. Okay. I respect your professional opinion, Josh.
Professionally rated IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes movie critic over here.
That's right. Hey, I have an IMDb from when I was an extra in an indie movie when I was like 19 years old. I have 1 credit on IMDb somewhere.
Oh, the only reason I have any is because I kept submitting it over and over again to IMDb. I tried to explain to them I had real credits, and they never believed me. Eventually, I kept screenshotting everything. I was like, my God, here's my name in the credits. Put me in. And eventually they did. Now I have like 2 credits, but I should have 5. Okay. Well, everybody. Well, thanks. This has been Josh and Cassie Yell About Movies.
We're done
this week
crying
it was
now
Josh and Cassie Cry About Movies, you know.
Maybe, exactly.
Maybe we should we should have changed the title.
We need to slow down the outro like for this week and just make it really melancholy and like just to match the tone of this film.
Yeah, run it slow speed. Okay, well that's it. I guess I'm gonna stop recording. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Bye, guys. Hopefully we'll be a little cheerier next week.
I told you they'd yell about directors, yell about the plot. They yelled about the acting, hope they let the guests talk, but mostly Josh and